genre.
Back to the Doctor's Companion. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cass Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing Joy to the World, the 2024 Christmas special. Though I have a bone to pick because depending on what I'm looking at, it's either Joy to the World or Joy to the Worlds, plural.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. I've seen promotional, Disney Plus promotional posters that say Joy to the Worlds, plural. I'm literally looking at the Wikipedia, and
that's weird.
The image on the Wikipedia is Joy to the Worlds, plural. But given the end of this episode, I feel like it has to be just world singular, right? Because of what happens after that lyric in the song.
Right.
I completely believe you. I just want to. Yeah, you're totally right. That is so weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Joy to the Worlds.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is kind of uncharacteristically. I mean, it's half and half with this show, but this is a pretty earthbound episode of the show.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Different time periods of Earth, but yeah, Earth all the same. Yeah, so this is the 2024 Christmas special written by Stephen Moffat. I think it's the first Christmas special to not be written by the showrunner, the current showrunner.
Yeah,
is that right?
I think so.
Because
yeah.
I mean, the RTD ones were all RTD, and then the Moffat era was Moffat, and then the New Year's specials were all Chib.
Yeah, at least co-written by Chib.
Oh, that's right.
I don't remember if he has sole credit on all of those, but yeah. So that's interesting. Still written by a showrunner, just not the current showrunner. Yeah. So curious what everyone's thoughts on this one were. Cass, I assume did you just watch this just
I did,
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get your thoughts first, since they're the freshest, because I watched this basically minutes after it popped up on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. What are your thoughts, Cass?
I liked it. Are we doing spoiler free stuff first, or?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Okay. I liked the bits with Anita the best. But overall I enjoyed it. I thought it tied in really well with the themes that were explored in the previous season with Ruby's moms and stuff, and the Doctor trying to figure out where he comes from. So I liked that. But yeah, it was fun. I'm delighted at the concept of a time hotel, and I hope we go back to that.
We'll probably never see it again, but but I agree with you. Nick, what are your thoughts?
So I watched this on Christmas Day night. Scott, I'm curious. So what time of day did this drop on Disney Plus? Was this crack of dawn, early morning, or
on Pacific time? It dropped at 9:15 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to watch this with Christmas Day breakfast and coffee.
That's
nice.
fun.
That was, yeah.
I want to share my thoughts, but I also want to know how that hit, because I usually watching these at night after the family's gone to bed and Christmas is winding down is such a part of the ceremony for me when these are coming out. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was delightful watching it. But since we've had a couple of days to ruminate, and I've been like reading the Discord's thoughts, and I've read a couple of like reviews or write-ups on different websites and stuff, and just my own reflection on it, I think I loved it. I think this is one of the better Christmas specials. And even like, I was looking at the Moffat ones, just kind of on the Wikipedia. I was like, yeah, I think I'd rewatch this one before a lot of other ones. And, that could be just that new car smell. But I just found this to be a really fun romp after, a pretty rocky landing to season 1. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one.
I also had a lot of fun with this one. There are elements to it that, while relevant, I guess, to the villain, if you want to call them that, in this particular thing, like I understand everything that it's doing, but I don't think it has any place in Doctor Who personally. And so that the ending really, and that was like, I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. And then the ending came and I was like, I don't think I'm going to watch this that often. So, all the religious stuff, I don't know. But yeah, it was solid. I guess I have, structurally, I think my problem with it is just that, like, they're calling Joy the companion of this episode. And to me, she's a plot component. She's not really a companion of sorts. Like, it's more like she's a problem the Doctor has to solve, and then he does, and then it's over. And that feels like less of a companion and more of like one of many one-off characters that are in lots of episodes of Doctor Who. To me, Anita is the companion of this episode. And she kind of feels like maybe she's going to be the Donna Noble of the RTD2 era, being introduced in a Christmas special as a one-off thing, and then maybe we'll come back like another season from now as a full-blown companion because everyone is like, yay, we love her, That would be great, especially considering this was like her first on-screen credit ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of crazy. And everyone's like, big reaction to her, big positive reaction to her must feel amazing for her. And I think that's the thing that I'm most chuffed about with this episode is just like the behind the scenes detail that Steph DeWhaley has never had an on-screen credit before. And it's this, and everyone wants her to come back. Like, that's kind of incredible. I think my favorite part of this, other than Anita, was the time hotel, not just the concept of the time hotel, but just the way that it worked and the way that it felt was so immediately classic Who coded to me of just like a simple set with a bunch of doors. And it's like, and it has like, kind of that like Nick, that like Richard Lester kind of humor of like walking into a room and being like, oh, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and then leaving, and it's just like these little skits, like as he's like walking through different doors. Very Richard Lester, very like old school Beatles movies, which is very classic Who coded. And so I really liked all of that because I was like, oh man, this is so cozy. Like it feels like this could be a Tom Baker episode,
Yeah, I mean, like, listening to you, I can literally see like 5 or 6 or 4 walking around in like the 70s or 80s version of this set and be like, it's a time hotel. Oh, this is good. Like, hello, I'm a Roman centurion. I'm Charles Dickens,
Right, exactly. Yeah, probably in the classic Who version, they'd all be coming out of the doors instead of them going into the doors because saving money, cost saving. Cheaper to have one guy come out of a door in a costume than going through a door and building a whole world. But but either way, like, yeah, it's very classic Who coded to me. the whole briefcase thing and killing lots of people for a Christmas special. I mean, that's just, typical Doctor Who Christmas special shit.
Right? There aren't any like spinning like Christmas tree saw things, but like, people die in the Christmas specials.
Yeah, lots of people die. And lots of people die. But lots of people die that you care about. They're like, oh man, we're gonna make you care about this person, then we're gonna kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And Merry Christmas.
Yeah, shout out to Joel Fry. Our flag means death. Cruella, instantly. Moffat does those kind of characters so well. Those kind of affable working class. You just immediately love them, and then your heart breaks when something terrible happens to them.
Yeah, he was a total Rory. And
yes.
I was like, oh man, this guy needs an Amy so bad.
And it was
for a minute there, the Doctor was his Amy.
I was gonna
but,
say, they had Cam.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I think I really, really enjoyed a lot of this. I just felt like it was, I think if you're hyper focused on just the Doctor's arc in this, I think it's a little cleaner because you're just following more or less a linear story at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that thinking about it in terms of like, oh, there's like a section in the middle where he's just like living in a hotel for a year, that has nothing really to do with anything else other than him like learning about himself and learning how to communicate. And then it's like surrounded by bookends of plot, it's just like a weird structure, I guess. But in general, I think it's really good. It's probably Moffat's third best Christmas special behind. Was it Last Christmas? Is that the Santa Claus one that we watched and was like rewatch and we're all like, holy shit, that was awesome. Actually, I think it's probably behind that and obviously Christmas Carol, but like really solid overall for me. So yeah,
it might be inverted Last Christmas for me, where and I haven't rewatched it since our discussion, where it did age really well, but I remember being like, okay, yeah, it's kind of like Alien. This is kind of I like these characters, and then the ending just hit me like a wallop, and I was like, oh, I love Christmas, I love my family.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I can't wait to talk about the middle, because that's kind of when I felt the most cozy and swooning, and then the ending was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait to talk about that either.
All right. So, we start off with, I think a pretty great, like Doctor Christmas special vibes, like, of like him coming out with the robe and to get like cream for his coffee and like, like that whole, like, it was like, man, this is some good old fashioned, like Doctor Who Christmas special. Like Doctor on his own, like doing his own thing, getting into his own shenanigan Christmas themed adventure, vibes.
I wanted to go. Okay, so the cold open where it's like the Blitz and
right, I forgot about the cold open.
and the Doctor keeps interrupting different time periods. With presenting a plate of a ham and cheese toasty and a pumpkin latte, ham and cheese toasty and a pumpkin latte, and and we meet Sylvia Trench from James Bond, and we meet Sir Edmund Hillary about to scale Mount Everest, and I wanted to pose both of you a question, because I don't know, I wasn't going for this. I'm not saying he was trying to like top Fish Fingers and Custard, but it felt Fish Fingers and Custard coated, where it's like a kind of quirky Doctor Who snack. Ham and cheese toasty and a pumpkin latte, to me, feels exhausting. That feels like a very heavy meal. I don't think I would enjoy
it. That's interesting. I can't imagine a grilled cheese sandwich being, because that's essentially what it is a grilled cheese sandwich with ham on it. I can't imagine that being that heavy. I don't know.
I guess to me, I
With
want
like a latte though?
With a latte? Well, I don't know.
I would
I'm
need a
drinking
grilled cheese
coffee
with a
right now.
latte.
What do you want from me?
Like at one point, someone refers it to as a light snack. Oh, here's your light snack. I'm like, I don't know, a whole latte with like sugar and milk, and then a cheese and a ham sandwich.
Yeah, no,
bread.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess my issue is I don't know that the flavors totally complement each other. I mean, better than fish fingers and custard, I guess. It's a
Mhm.
little closer, a little tighter, but but yeah. What I don't understand about that was like he ordered it, so what was he doing?
He was undercover.
I know, but who is gonna say yes? I ordered that. Like, no one's gonna say that. Like,
I think he was using it just as an excuse to like poke around and see, because he was walking around like the different doors on the whatever floor the suitcase man was trying to get to.
Okay,
To
so he was
kinda,
just
like,
trying to find the
scope 'em out.
suitcase man.
Yeah, I think he was just being silly.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't fulfill the promise of, because at the cold open, like, oh, cool, he's gonna be working at the hotel, and he's gonna be like pretending to be like a bellhop or a waiter. But yeah, it does kind of. But no, you're totally right. I fell in love with him all over again when he walks out of the TARDIS with his robe, just making his coffee, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't have a no." Like, he was like, "Oh, the TARDIS is a hotel room. Like, that's where I stay. I just come out here for the coffee or something."
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. He's like, is there a toilet in there? He's like, you think I'm bringing a lot of coffee into the toilet? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't judge. I love that guy. Good use of the psychic paper, I think. Of him, because like that was the deal with the psychic paper, is it was just like it got rid of all of the bullshit classic Who, like, well, guess you got to go to jail for a minute,
Right.
thing.
For like an episode and a half.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what? It's my get out of jail free card. That's how we're gonna make these 45 minutes instead of 90. But yeah, I thought that was a really good use of that. I really liked the Doctor noticing the suitcase thing and the guy not looking up at the atrium, but not saying anything about it, and then going in and immediately switching on his coat and being like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was relaxing. Like, what happened? I noticed something. Yeah, I thought that was really doctor-y. I will say this. I think that so far, at least for me, I think that RTD seems to be trying to write 15 in a way that really makes him different from every other Doctor. And every time Moffat writes the script, he just writes the Doctor, and then he lets, trusting that Ncuti Dgatwa will bring himself to that Doctor written role, and make it the 15th Doctor, and I just find that he is never more the Doctor to me than with the Moffat scripts so far. I just think that, like, I think of, like, well, I can't remember, Boom. I think of Boom, and I think of this, and it's just like, yeah, he's like the Doctor. Whereas like RTD is like, he's not just any Doctor, he's this Doctor. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But like, I do really like Moffat's sort of like attitude about it, which is just like, no, I'm just gonna write the same person that has been the writing the Doctor, the same guy, like through the whole thing, and that's who I'm writing, and you can perform it however you want, because that's your job as the actor, is to like bring yourself to it. And I just think that that's really cool, and I think it's a really cool like melding in that way, because it gives like Ncuti like this sort of I don't know, like this freedom to like put his own personality onto this thing that has been, this character that's been like more or less written the same way for like, decades. And I think it's cool. Rather than it having it be like thrust upon him, as it seems to be in the RTD scripts. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's how I read it.
I think that like it's probably helpful for him to have like the initial like the RTD, like this is the direction I want this character to go in, you know, like with the script, so like he can like kind of get a sense for what like and along with like his own interpretation obviously, but like, you know, like this is the direction I want this doctor to be in, and then like they work collaboratively towards that. But I also think that Moffat just like I do there's the exchange with like the two doctors where he gets left in the room and then he's like yelling into the door and like, this is why you're alone. Like I could hear that in like in 10's voice, in 11's voice, in 12's voice. Yeah. So like I think it's really interesting. Like it's very much like a really interesting like dichotomy of like showrunner styles, I think.
Yeah.
So that was fun to watch. And like and the monologue where he's like trying to rile Joy up. Like I could hear that in like 11. Like 11 like when he's mean, you know? Cuz we haven't really seen 15 be mean, I think.
Right. That's true.
Like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they chose to pull that out like on Christmas, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the like, wait, why did I put my coat on moment? Because relatable of like, wait, what am I doing? Like my body's like 5 seconds ahead of my brain. But then yeah, I loved him arguing with himself. And like what I love about Moffat writing this show, and especially like kind of post his reign, but when he was the guy in charge, is he's so clearly a writer who has thought about this character and this show since he was a child and never stopped. And so he gets to make all these little observations like, why don't you have any chairs? Because you don't have any friends. Because you're bro. And I'm like, oh, that. And he's like, oh my God, I don't have any chairs. What's wrong with me? I'm like, I've never thought of that, but that's so true. And it's why like those arguments ring so true to me. And the kind of, why it feels like he's not writing the Doctor with an agenda, like even he sometimes had to do during his tenure when he was like trying to say something with 11 or 12. Now he just gets to write like the Doctor.
Yeah. And that's nice. It definitely, it also has that sort of like specialness vibe that I think Boom didn't quite have, because like Boom has that sort of like mystery element going through the whole, like basically from like minute 5 he steps on the landmine, and it's like the rest of the episode is like, what's gonna happen? And so you're so focused on that it doesn't quite have the special like Moffat wrote this one vibes that like Girl in the Fireplace does, or Blink does, or, you know, this one has those vibes to me, I think, of like, yeah, this one feels special.
So notably, Boom and this episode really highlights the concept of Villaingrad or Villain Guard, the evil corporation that goes all the way back to like the Doctor dances, when it's like been mentioned on and off, and and I'm excited to get to that. But before we leave the Time Hotel, did we notice some of the like Easter eggs stuff? Like apparently the Bag End Hobbit door was in there.
Oh yeah, Norman pointed that out. Because of course he would.
That's fun.
Dodo burgers.
Yeah, all the doors were cool. The Time Hotel's cool. I don't know. It's a cool concept. It's interesting too because it's like, I guess they all did like show up into like rooms you could stay in, I guess. But it's just interesting because it's like people are already staying in the room. So then it's like, how do the people running the place in their own time know that the room is occupied if it's being booked through the Time Hotel and not through their time, you know?
Yeah.
So like, how often is it double booked or something, you know?
That's funny.
I guess they don't have to worry about that with the dinosaur room, but 'cause it seems like they kind of built that themselves or something. But anyway.
Oh, and we had the Silurian maitre d', or the Silurian like manager.
Mhm.
Yeah. He was a good character. Again, like this episode's really good at like making you really like a character and then just like icing them.
Yep.
Just
And then,
I guess typical.
And while this is happening, we're introduced to who we thought was going to be everyone's favorite part of the episode, Nicola Coughlan as Joy, who was again like marketed as the companion. And I love how subtly Anita is introduced into the episode, because you're like, okay, yeah, she's like she works at the regular hotel. She's got a couple of funny lines, but you're not really, you don't clock her immediately as like,
Mm-hmm.
who's this? Because we're like, oh, we're all here for Nicola Coughlan.
Right.
And
also, I have to point this out because I think it's so stupid. Her name is Joy Almondo. Her name is Almond Joy.
Joy Almondo.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is her name.
Oh my goodness, Moffat.
Like, what are we doing?
Truly, what are we doing? Was he just looking at one? Was there just one like in his room?
Yeah, probably. Like that's a real like. Oh, and what's her name? Oh, it's Armando. Joy Armando. Anyway,
Anita Ben's a good name. Ben with two.
Yes, Anita Ben is a good. That's a good one. That's a good name. I like look, I love alliteration, but underrated. I like a name that is in alphabetical order. I don't know why. Where it's like an A and then a B. And Ruby Sunday is the same thing, an R and an S.
Oh.
Yeah. I think.
Do you like it when it's reversed, like Ben Affleck?
No.
Okay. So kind of another Moffatism is, we've talked about this so many times over the years, is he loves how blank is a thing? Well, what if it was Doctor Who space stuff?
The locked door in the hotel room thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get y'all's opinion on that, because like my gut reaction when she was like, isn't it weird how every hotel has that one locked door? And I was like, I don't know about that. I've never, is that a thing? I've never noticed that.
It's definitely a thing, but it's not a mystery. It's usually cleaning supplies, as Anita says. Okay. It's usually like a locked door that only the staff have a key for, because the cleaning staff, like, that's where they store the cleaning supplies for that room. Or it's a door to an adjoining room, and you don't have the key to it because you don't get to go in that room. You didn't rent that room, So it's not a mystery, Moffat. Like, it's just how hotels work. This one felt a little bit like that Family Guy. I think it was a Family Guy joke. The Stephen King, like, it's this lamp, scary lamp. Ooh, this one's about a scary lamp. It was like, when can I have it? Like.
The thing that I like about the quote unquote like mystery door though is like it feels very childlike.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're like on vacation and you're like, wow, where does this door go? And like you just like make crap up. Like it's kind of like that, which I think is like, I don't know, it fits for a Christmas special.
Yeah. I will say I have seen mystery doors in a hotel, and it took me years to find out what they were, which is like these little doors, these like little doors. They're small. These little doors that are like if you're like looking at an atrium, and it'll be like up in its own little hallway leading to this little door, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Why is that here? Where does that go? And I've thought about those all the time, and then I find out that they're in older buildings. before, like pre elevators, you would get like, that's where they would like deliver like coal and like wood.
Oh, for the dumbwaiter
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, they like outside, like they would like
Oh,
bring it outside, and the door leads directly outside to nothing. And that's why it's like,
cool.
why is that there? That doesn't make any sense. But it's because we live in a post-elevator world. And so we don't know that there was a time before that where they had to use a pulley system to get supplies up to like the 6th floor or whatever. But yeah. That's like more of a mysterious thing, because it's a door to nowhere and it's small. So you're just like, what is that? Is it goblins again?
Yeah, Christmas goblins.
Is it Christmas goblins again?
I wanted to write about the goblins too.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, while we're talking about the Christmas goblins, is it just me, or is there a stark difference between Moffat Christmas specials and RTD Christmas specials in scope? Like, for whatever reason, I know we go to multiple time periods. He uses a lasso on the Orient Express, which, by the way, when she's reading Murder on the Orient Express, I was like, that seems like a bad omen, man. Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a great idea. But like, even when he's doing something big like that, it still feels very like small and personal and like more intimate than RTD's Christmas specials, which feel like big and wide open and epic. Like these huge like blockbusters. And like, I don't know that Moffat's Christmas specials quite feel like blockbusters ever to me. I don't know if you guys get that sense too.
I don't think I've ever made that connection before, but I think you're right. Like, I feel like the Moffat ones are more sentimental. And then like the RTD ones are like very, like kind of showing off.
Yeah, like if you look at like down the line from Joy to the World to like The Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Christmas Carol, they have sort of, you could think of it as an epic. I mean, Christmas Carol is sort of a man's life that we get to see, but it's very personal. Or like Dr. Witch and the Wardrobe is about a mother trying to like, oh my God, I have to tell my kids this horrible thing. I don't want to. How can I put this off? Or Last Christmas is so much about Clara. Yeah, I think you hit on something there, Scott.
Yeah, they're very like, Moffat is very like inside out, and Russell's are like outside in. You know, like the outside's coming. Here it comes. It's coming right for you. Big Titanic spaceship gonna crash into the Queen's bathroom. I don't know. Like, you know, like that's
yeah.
So it's just they're very different. I don't know. So yeah, very different sentiments, I guess. But it's cool that like now that like it's his second era, he's fine with like, I don't need to write every Christmas special. Like, I think that's kind of cool. I hope next year neither of them write the Christmas special. I hope it's like some other third person. I think that would be cool. Not Chibnall, but some other third person.
Do you think the RTD Christmas special, like the tendency to make them like really big, comes from the fact that like 10 debuted in the Christmas special?
I mean, that might be part of it, but I also just think that like the idea of like the British Christmas Day TV special is a big blockbuster event. And so I think like, you know, growing up in that, like, I think that he just feels like, it's got to be this big epic thing that the whole family will come around to, like, I got to see this because it's going to be this big epic thing. Whereas I think Moffat is like, they got a bunch of those. Like, I just want to make them good, you know? I don't know.
And Christmas is so interesting because you have the parades and the lights and the Rockefeller Plaza, but then Christmas is also reading Christmas Carol alone in the dark in your room, or looking at your tree when everyone else is asleep and having these sort of melancholy, contemplative thoughts. And It can be a very big social holiday, but could also be a very lonely, insular holiday. And it's interesting how they both kind of explore different elements of like what a Christmas special can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so he meets Joy for like 5 seconds basically, and then his future self shows up and is like, here's the code. I don't know, man. See you later.
So there's a briefcase with a sentient handcuff that is attaching to hosts, and then when it attaches to a new host, the old host dies, and it's saying the flesh will rise and the starseed will do a thing, and we learn that inside of the suitcase is like a little baby star, and that is the star seed. And Cass, like, since you saw this the most recently, like I'm so like Villaingrad didn't create that star, they like caught it somehow, right? Or like acquired it.
I think they manufactured it, like it's a star that's waiting to like expand, and they're using the star's expansion to like fuel like an energy resource, basically. Like they want to turn it into an energy resource.
Right.
But because stars take forever.
Organized religion.
Yeah, I guess. Which I didn't clock at all. But like, cause the star takes like, millions and millions of years to like actually get to that point. So like they're doing the time hotel thing to speed up that process.
And then it attaches to Joy, and then so Nicola Coughlan is kind of playing the starseed for a good chunk of this episode, and then we get like the doctor being like, "Hey, I already figured it out, but like you have to do it the long way round." Pointing to both of you, and we get that moment where the doctor's like, "Fuck, I hate myself so much sometimes. I'm the worst." And then, she goes down. We meet Anita. And then this is when it kind of settles like, oh, Anita's going to be like in the episode. And we get this really beautiful little kind of like, it is structured really weirdly, Scott, like you said, but like, I loved seeing him just having to just like exist for a year, and he becomes friends with Anita. I read this really interesting write-up on Slash Film, and I didn't clock this when I was watching the episode because, Joy's arc is very much tied to the lockdown, the pandemic of 2020, and the writer and the Slash Film writer kind of took a step further and said, well, this part of the story that the doctor goes through, you could almost kind of look at it as an analogy for what a lot of us went through. Is he had stuff he wanted to do, he had big important stuff he needed to get done, but then a future version of himself was like, no, actually your job for the next year is like to sit still and wait. And the doctor's like, God damn it. Hate this actually. And then he ends up kind of like finding aspects of it that he likes, and is like, oh shit, I think a part of me needed to do this. And he has chair night where he just plays board games with this cool person. And I'd be interested to hear you guys' thoughts on that side of it.
I love that because it was also like, I mean, it really, lockdown for a lot of people, especially if they weren't alone. If you weren't a good communicator, I think that you really struggled during lockdown. And the doctor being one of the worst communicators, having to learn how to communicate with another human being on just a very small personal level of like, playing board games together. I mean, I think it's really interesting. It's kind of this examination of both what lockdown took from us, but also what it gave us, which was, in this, I mean, look at what happened on the other side of lockdown. Like, we're now kind of like side-eyeing the internet and social media a lot more than we were before. Because we're like, we don't fucking need you, assholes. Like, you know, like there's that element of like of just being like very distrusting of that, because we now know and understand what it's like to like more deeply communicate with the people in our lives because of lockdown. And so I think that there's something there about like this examination of what it took away from us, but also what it gave us in return. This mixed bag, right? It's like, I don't know that I would be married right now had lockdown not happened. I don't know, you know, like, I don't know, when could I have afforded a ring? Would I still be working at a movie theater? You know, I don't know. And I think it's a troubling thing that I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about a lot, because of, you know, they know how much people lost during that period, but there's just as many people like me who gained a lot from it. And that's a weird dichotomy, you know, but it's also, you know, analogous with like just the world at large, you know. Yeah. People gain things from other people's losses all the time, both in good and bad ways. It's just how the world works, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting examination. The idea of like making a Christmas special that's an examination of lockdown is a fascinating idea. And a very weird choice for Moffat to do, but cool, I think, because, you know, hashtag relatable, I guess.
I guess like I really liked the year that the Doctor spends like sitting still, not sitting still totally, but like, you know, like not running around and doing all the stuff that he normally does, because it's kind of like in is it the Giggle where 15? Yeah. In like the Giggle where they do the split regeneration thing, and he like tells 14 like, no, you're done, you can rest now. And it feels like in that moment I felt like, oh, okay, we're gonna get like an emotionally mature like Doctor. But I liked this because it's still like he still has room to grow, and like it's like illustrating that, you know. And like he like, yeah, he like takes away from it, like he's frustrated, but he like he grows as a person and he grows as a character, and I like really enjoyed that, because it's kind of like it kind of delivers on the promise of like a story like The Lodger, where it's like, I'm gonna be normal, you know. And then it's like he's only normal for like 2 minutes, and then he goes and does something else. But like this is like a solid year where he's like, no, I have to like sit and make a friend the normal way, and like live all the seconds in consecutive order.
Yes, I am going to turn her car into a low-key TARDIS.
Yes, a TARDIS. But yeah, no, I liked the dichotomy of like, in this year I'm like gaining things, but also like people are losing things. I think that's a really cool reading of that.
And we get the other side of that with Joy's arc of the anger that period means for a lot of people. But I had the thought too, Cass, like I thought about The Lodger. I thought about like the Power of Three, where he gets to kind of be domestic with the pawns. And, you know, watching this episode, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also kind of thinking of potential criticisms or potential things. And I'm like, oh, well, haven't we been here before? Hasn't he learned this already? And wasn't he supposed to be the Doctor who went to therapy, you know? And we move past this. But then also, you know, there's a Killer's Christmas song called A Great Big Sled that has a part where Brandon Flowers says, I want to roll around like a kid in the snow. I want to relearn what I already know. And I've always liked that lyric, because it's like, oh yeah, it is kind of like, that's what Christmas is you kind of like relearn this stuff every year of like, wow, it really is about the people in your life. And even when it's not Christmas, like sometimes I can get to go through a period where I'm like, wow, I'm like, I've learned this before. Like, why do I have to learn this again? I thought I've already done this, but that's kind of what being alive is sometimes, is like having to relearn these lessons again and again. And is it comforting to see someone as amazing as the Doctor still having to like go through like, okay, I have to learn this lesson again of like how to live life linearly and connect with someone more personally.
Yeah. It is interesting. I guess like with them splitting apart, that's essentially 14 essentially learned that like, oh, I need to learn that I want this. And 15's whole thing was like, you get to have this and I get to just go off and do my own thing, like I get to keep us going. So the idea that like he also has to learn to like appreciate slowing down and connecting with people is interesting, because it also feels like not a criticism of the latest series, but it does feel like it is in response to it in terms of like, I think we like all of us sort of felt we wish we knew him a little better by the end of that first season. And then this is sort of being like, yeah, you didn't know him very well because he wasn't connecting with you guys. Like he was too busy, being the doctor, that he wasn't really connecting with you, the audience, the Doctor Who fans. So you don't really get a sense of him other than, he has a crying streak, which he maintains in this episode. I think he's cried in every episode. So I'll be curious if we ever hit an episode where he doesn't cry. And we're going to be like, oh, there it is. It finally happened.
Oh, yeah. And I love that moment when the Silurian is dying and he's just so locked in and just so there with this guy that he met like 5 seconds ago,
Yeah. That's the thing that's like ironic, I think, about 15 is he maybe has more empathy than any doctor ever, but then he has trouble connecting with people. Very strange.
And I know, but and kind of going back to it being like a reaction to season 1, it's like, it's so interesting. Like you said, like everyone, the fandom seems to collectively be like, we love Anita. Anita's great. And like, I think my favorite moment in this whole episode is can go back to that shot of just them two in the fire escape with their mugs, just kind of like enjoying the breeze. And it's like, oh yeah, like, it doesn't all have to be like Disney Plus Suitech special effects. This is kind of where the magic is often.
Yeah. But it's also like she's so normal, she's so relatable. There's nothing special about her other than she is her, and that makes her special because everybody is special because they're all their own person, but like she's just so normal. And I think that everyone was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to just have like a normal, relatable companion again? Because I think that's what everybody was hoping for from Ruby. And, we kind of got another mystery box companion. It was a mystery box with a note from RTD that said "gotcha" at the end after you opened it, but it was still like it was a mystery box companion. Like it was another kind of Clara, Amy mystery box companion, in a way. And I think people, when the promise of bringing RTD back, I think a lot of people wanted that to go away, and they just wanted like a shop girl or a temp, or a medical student, like they wanted that again. And that's not what Ruby is. And I think that Anita was like a breath of fresh air for everyone, because they were like, oh my God, yeah, hotel manager. Yes. Companion, do it. Yeah. So I hope she does come back. I really do. I mean, she works for the Time Hotel now, presumably. So I guess we could get our wish both ways if she comes back, because then the Time Hotel would also have to come back.
Yay.
So,
and that made me think of that moment, Scott, of like when it's time for him to go, and it's actually more sad than, oh, finally, I get to like get out of here. And I think he says something like, you make me feel amazing, or like, you're amazing. Well, I bet people tell you that all the time. And Anita's like, actually, no one's ever told me that before, ever. And it's just like, oh man, like that says so much about like people, or like, what is friendship if not like meeting someone that sees something in you that, no one else has seen, or you haven't seen in yourself.
Yeah. That's good. That's nice. That's Christmas.
It's definitely like the coziest part of the episode to me.
Yeah. I love the gag of her handing him a plunger and him asking if it's armed. And the look on his face is really funny. But then it's also funny because it's like, man, we're really building up to like 15 eventually having his Dalek story. But because like, you can't have a doctor that doesn't get a Dalek story.
Right.
But I feel like RTD is like, we're going to take our time with that one. I would love like a full blown like Dalek Christmas special, which we haven't actually had.
Okay, so I didn't know that I wanted this, but I want a Dalek with a Santa hat on it.
Yeah,
so bad.
And a beard.
And a beard.
It has to have the beard too. Ho
Just,
ho
slung
ho.
over
See, because
or maybe it would be like maybe the Daleks are elves, and then they take him back to like the big alpha Dalek, and it's like,
oh man, Dalek Supreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the easy answer is like, oh, the Daleks are trying to destroy Christmas or like ruin Christmas, but it's actually like no, we love Christmas. Like,
yeah,
Christmas is great, we love Christmas, but it's like their interpretation of Christmas.
It's like Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's Daleks. We make toys now.
We make toys. Like a little hammer.
Yeah, they were all over the New Year specials, but it would be fun to have like a full blown Christmas one. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah, because he hates them so much, and 15 is so there's so little hate in there that we've seen so far. So like that would be interesting to see. Like what is this version's of him relationship with them now?
Yeah, right. It's very true. Yeah,
but yeah.
I'm very curious to see what they end up doing with Daleks with him. It'll be I mean I say they do our Christmas thing, but we'll see what they actually do.
So he spends a year trying to come up with the combination to open up the suitcase, and it ends up kind of being like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of deal where like there was no combination, or like the combination would have been whatever he gave to himself or something like that. Cass, am I forgetting any cool tricks to that?
No, I like that. I like that Moffat called it out. It's just like, yeah, I just remembered it, and like it just came into being. Like the universe just came into being. No one else questions that. Let's move on. And I was like, oh, okay, that's funny.
Fair enough.
He was like, I'm not gonna dwell on this. I have a dedeadline. Like,
right? It's like, okay, let's next page. Let's go.
Yeah.
I like the scene in the elevator. Another good like Moffat being Moffat is when he's like, people think that your house is who you are, but no, it's your hotel room because that's you without makeup. Like that's the version of yourself you don't like seeing, because that's who you are when you don't have all your stuff and your precious things and your pictures and stuff. And that's when we kind of get the her break, because Nicola Coughlan, Joy, is trapped in this like pleasant, smiley, passive, like, oh, you silly little man, I'm the starseed, tut tut tut. And so he's like, okay, I have to break you with negative energy. But I like that monologue, and it did make me think of like, who am I when I'm in a hotel? Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be honest. That one rubbed me the wrong way, because to me, it's a little bit of a guy, like a thing written by a guy who is rich and has been rich for a very long time. And it's like, yeah, you get to choose whatever hotel that you get into. Everyone else has to just pick the one they can afford.
Right.
And that's not saying that they think they deserve that. They're saying this is what my bank account can handle. And so like, I don't know if I really agree with that assessment. That rubbed me.
I guess it made me think of like, oh, like where do I put my clothes when I'm in a hotel room, or what do I do first, or how messy am I, or how clean am I? I guess that's where my place went to, because like I think of like a hotel room as kind of, I've only been in one kind of hotel room, which is kind of like a Holiday Inn kind of hotel room. And so I kind of think of it as like, oh yeah, it's kind of like utilitarian in a way. But I totally get of like, oh yeah, he's probably stayed in like some really nice resort places.
Yeah, because there was like a line specifically that he was like, the type of hotel room says the kind of person that you think that you are or whatever. And I was like, no, it doesn't. I was like, what the fuck?
or like what you'll put up with.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah,
right,
and it's like, Moffat,
right.
I'm poor. Like
yeah, like you know, like when I was 8 or 9 years old, like I lived in a Motel 6 for 6 months because we couldn't afford to get an apartment. Like we didn't choose that. It's not that we thought that we didn't deserve any better than that. That's
right.
what my family could afford. Like what, man, I don't know. Easy for you to say Richie Rich, fucker. Anyway,
I lived in an Embassy Suites for a few months when we were looking for a new house.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So
and
it happens. Better than a Motel 6, but
and then yeah, king of the castle. Oh man, sharing a bedroom. But it all leads to kind of what the Doctor's attack on Joy is kind of like, you're the kind of person who wears a smile on her face and you follow all the rules. And I bet you you always follow the rules, and where has it gotten you? You're weak. You ain't shit, Joy. And like that launches her into like, fuck you. You know why I hate Christmas? Because my mom died on Christmas Day on 2020. And the last time I saw her was through an iPad screen. And because I was following the rules, because I was being a good little girl and a good citizen, my mom died alone on Christmas, and that's on me. And so now whenever it's Christmas Day, I get as far away from Christmas as I can because I'm fucking pissed at myself. I hate that I'm the way that I am. And the Doctor's like, but look at the handcuff. Look where the handcuff came off. Guess it all worked out, didn't it? No bad way to save a life. Can't be mad at me.
Yeah. I was a little confused by the like getting away from Christmas, and I guess it's like, I guess they're saying like, oh, she picked like a really like shitty hotel to stay at because like they don't decorate for Christmas or whatever, and so it's like, this is what I want to be. But then it's also, she's dressed very festively. She's dressed in like red and green and like so I'm just like, I'm a little confused by your like, I want to stay as far away from Christmas as possible. It's like, then wear blue. Like, wear something that isn't Christmassy. What are you doing?
That's funny.
Yeah, but Christmas special gonna Christmas, I guess.
So, Cass, what did you think of this kind of? Because it's kind of like the most joy we get. Not joy with a joy with a capital J, is like her big explosion at the Doctor. Did that kind of ring like as like compelling for you for like the what we get from this character on the emotional
I mean,
side?
I think so. Like the explanation like made me cry. And I think she I haven't seen Nicola Coughlan in a lot. Like, I think this is the only thing I've seen her in. But I was impressed, like, because like while she's standing in the elevator, her like possessed face is like so creepy. And then like when she like breaks, like she actually like becomes a real person again. So like I liked her range, and I liked that like you could like feel how like angry and like broken this character was like in that moment. So I think it like worked for me.
I think she's doing a lot with a little. Like I wish that instead of the ham and cheese toasty and a pumpkin latte cold open, we had gotten something a little bit more of like telling us who Joy is as a person, and like maybe even like showing her with her mom a little bit or something, so that like I wanted to feel that moment a lot more rather than just like this sort of like little monologue thing, like element of it. Because like when we get the scene later where we actually see that scene play out, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is her mom. But it's like, I just have to kind of accept that, but I'm not like feeling it the way that she would be feeling it because I don't know who this character was before she was in this bed, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish there was like a little something more with her. But I do think in terms of her playing a lot with a little, I think it's interesting that like the handcuffs put a mask on her and turn her into this sort of like automaton. And not an auton, but an automaton.
Right.
And but like that's literally what the doctor is accusing her of like, you know, smiling without your eyes, you know, like smiling to hide. She's masking this horrible feeling that she has. And so we don't really meet the real Joy until that moment where he breaks her down and, you know, makes the mask come off. And that moment of the mask coming off, the handcuffs also come off, which I think is like a fun metaphor. Not a fun metaphor, but you know, as a writer, it's a fun metaphor.
Right.
of like, oh, like you got me to drop the mask. Like it's gone. It's like this weight is off of me now because I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not, which is joy. I don't have to be joyful. I can be who I really am and what I really feel because I'm mad at you for saying what you're saying, you know?
Yeah. And maybe that could have been the cold open too, is like more of her interacting with the world and getting to see kind of the smiling without your eyes, kind of like conceal, don't feel aspects of it to make her feel more, so somewhat more like the protagonist of this episode, which I'm sure was somewhat the case. I mean, getting this big guest star. Cass, watch Dairy Girls if you're in the mood for like a fun sitcom. She's great in Dairy Girls.
She's older than everyone else in the cast by like 10 years because she's just got one of those faces.
Yeah, she looks young.
Yeah, but she's not. She's like
she's 55.
No, I think she is like mid 30s or late 30s. I think. Yeah, she's a lot older than she looks.
She's the Alexa Demi of Dairy Girls.
Yeah, yeah, she's like barely younger than me. She's 37. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the dinosaur? There was a dinosaur in this second dinosaur.
There sure was.
Yeah.
15.
That's where all the budget went.
So I will say this. I think they messed up by leaving out a great gag because the dinosaur eats the thing, the briefcase, right? And then when it does it, it goes into its eyes and it does the flashy thing that happens to everybody else, right? And I'm like, I just thought it would be so funny at the end when it's shuffling through all the people that had the briefcase. If the dinosaur came up, yes, that would have been so funny.
See, I was kind of disappointed by the dinosaur because like when they go to like the shrine where it ended up, I was like, man, this better be in like a fossil. Like it better be in like a museum or like
I will see know? That's the thing though, because its eyes glowed. I assumed that it connected to the star, which means that when it shot out the briefcase, it would just turn to ash like everybody else.
That's true. That's true.
When they lose the thing, which is why furthering my point that it should have been in the cast shuffle at the end.
I don't know. I wanted it to be in like a natural history museum or something.
Yeah.
I wanted it to talk when the eyes blink. Like, oh, is it going to talk? Like, oh no. That would be silly.
Man.
But the lasso thing was cool. That was kind of fun. Like the doctor being like, you know, the kind of daring do action hero. I love it when the doctor gets to kind of be Indiana Jones, but still sort of being the doctor about it and not like, I never want to see the doctor be like John McClane action hero guy. Like that's lame,
right.
But
yeah, but he says I'm good with rope.
Church on Ruby Road,
Christmas
baby.
goblins.
Yeah, Christmas
Yeah.
goblins.
Well, and also the finale.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's
literally
when he drugs
lasso
Sutek
Sutek and drags it to hell.
like a dog on a rope in a pickup truck.
Yeah. They did that to a guy in Furiosa, I think. Like,
Oh no.
Empire Attack.
Anyway.
Oh, and so I fully missed this. I had to Google this. I think someone on the Discord pointed it out. The woman on the Orient Express is Sylvia Trench, who is a character that appears in Ian Fleming's James Bond books, and she's in the movie versions of Dr. No and From Russia with Love.
Mm-hmm. But she's a real historical figure that Ian Fleming put into his books. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah. Sylvia Trench. Yeah, whose namesake was suspected as a reference to the love interest. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway.
Well, it's interesting, kind of like, this episode, this era, we were talking about how it sort of blends like, mythical figures, things that may not be real.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like Robot of Sherwood, if we want to go back further.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Sylvia Trench, because Ian Fleming notoriously was terrified of lesbians. Notoriously. Just nothing filled him with more fear and dread than women pleasuring other women without the need of men.
Is that why? Is that why she is writing a sapphic love letter?
That's why I was when people were like, oh, they made like James Bond canon or whatever. I was like, that's why I think, like, I'm wondering, like, oh, is she actually like a historical figure that actually did have a lesbian thing? And then
I don't think so. I think because maybe this is like Moffat meta, but like, how there was a rumor going around that he was going to write James Bond?
Yeah.
For a while.
Well,
like
it wasn't a rumor. He just really wanted to.
Oh. So maybe he's just like, you know what? Screw you, Ian Fleming. Like,
yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
That feels kind of a Sherlock Holmes snowman coded as well. Of like, when like, Sir James Sherlock Holmes is at the door, but it's Matt Smith. And he's like,
oh yeah.
Right. That's true. Yeah, that's fun, of just like another setup of like, yeah, James Bond, also the Doctor. Like, Merlin, the Doctor. Sherlock Holmes, the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
James Bond, also the Doctor.
And I just love the joke of like, oh, you should dump him. The syntax of this letter is terrible. I wrote that. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Man.
Is this has to be like the third or fourth instance of the Orient Express popping up in even just Modern Who.
Yeah. Well, the other Orient Express was like a space train. So it wasn't like the Orient Express.
And
it was
I feel like it just comes up because remember we just watched the Bond's getting married, The Big Bang at the end, where she's like, "Oh, there's a robot on the Orient Express" or something like that. He just loves throwing it out there.
Yeah.
He just thinks it's neat.
He just thinks it's neat. That's good. Yeah, and then we get the ending, which is Joy being like, you know what? It's cool that I'm dead. It's fine. It's fine, actually. This is good. I'm glad that I'm dead.
Starseed is baby, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it's like, it's being like, the movie or the episode feels like it's serving, forgive yourself for these things that were out of your control. like, just because you followed the rules and your mom died and like that's not your fault, like forgive yourself. But also she was like, or maybe I don't actually and I just kill myself. And I'm like, that's what are we doing? What are we trying to say here? I'm so confused. The messaging is a little messy to me, I think. I don't know.
Like the Jesus thing is actually one of the lesser confusing parts of that, because it's like, oh, okay, Christmas. I read there was a Hollywood Reporter interview with both of them, with RTD and Moffat, and he was like, oh well, I just thought like, oh, there are probably some kids that have just been in nativity plays and stuff at school, so it was like, oh, I know that story. Oh, it was Joy. Joy was the star. But I think what's much more muddled for me is just kind of what we're talking about, Scott, is like, well, where was this headed? Like, why was this Joy's story? Like the idea of the star being this thing that unite, like Sir Edmund Hillary, we get Tenzin, we get the Blitz, because there was this guy who was like, it's all going to be destroyed now, it's the end of everything. But then they see the star and it's like, actually hope, which was nice, because it's a nice feeling. Like, Cass, what do you think?
I don't know. Like, we were talking earlier about how like Joy is kind of like a plot device, like means to an end kind of thing, and like unfortunately, like as much as we have like turned around on Moffat, like that's just kind of something that he does. Like with Clara initially. And so I don't know, it is confusing, because like, is she actually doing this of her own will, or like, because you see her get like possessed by the star again, so like, is that is this ending like really a bummer? Like, it's I don't know.
Yeah, like
yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Like how earnestly, because you're right, at one point the doctor even, because at one point Joy is like, no, I want the star to survive, I want to protect it, and the doctor's like, no, that's the star effing with your brain and making you want what it wants. So I was unclear as to how genuine her protection or her affection for the star is supposed to be at the end.
Right. And on top of that, the whole villain guard of it all, and them wanting the star to exist, and possibly wanting it to start, inspire organized religion, so that they can use that to weaponize it for capitalism reasons. And then him just being like, no, you don't actually want this. That's the star talking. It's like, no, you don't actually want capitalism. You don't actually like Amazon. You don't actually like Disney. It's a corporation. Like, like it creates all these weird feelings for me. And then the ending being like, oh, it was about hope all along. I was like, is it? Or is it the darkest fucking ending of any Christmas special?
Because, and Cassie, help me out since you did see this last. Because like, I remember there's this, he makes some kind of attempt at an argument 15 where he's like, no, this is just Villaingrad. And then Joy / the Starseed is like, Villaingrad is nothing. It's less than nothing. This is bigger than that. It's about joy and hope. And it's like, I wish that had more protein in it so I could kind of see why that's the case.
I think because the little like force ghost of the little helper at the beginning, what I'm like, the consciousness that's been like uploaded into the star or whatever, like that came up in Boom, right, where like the dad like overrides the system and like whatever. So like this is like a similar case where it's like we're exerting what little like free will or like morality that we can in this like program thing. And I don't know that he like, I don't know if he like felt like he didn't need to like re-expand that, because like he'd already done the same thing in Boom here. But like, I think it's kind of all, it feels, the ending feels like the most first drafty to me.
Like unrefined.
Yeah. It feels to me like that was the starting point for this episode, and he worked his way backwards. Like, knowing Moffat and the way his mind works, which is he loves taking things that everyone takes for granted and then explaining them in a Doctor Who-y way. And so the idea of people taking the song Joy to the World for granted, you know, of like, oh yeah, joy to the world, the Lord has come, blah, 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 you know? And being like, oh, but what if Joy was a woman? You know? And then just working backwards from that of like, how do I get to her being the star in Bethlehem? Like, what would that mean? Like, why would she be involved in that? And how do I make that Doctor Who? Maybe she's the star because that's the one character in the Nativity that doesn't have like a voice, you know? And so it's like, yeah, and he just like worked backwards from there of like, how do we make her a star? How do we turn cue the Pearl gif of but I'm a star?
Yeah. Wow. Mia Goth and Doctor Who. That's a concept.
Could happen, right? She's British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make her the Ronnie.
Oh my God. We're not allowed to talk about that anymore.
Okay. Yeah. We have to put it on ice for a while. But yeah, like it is kind of like it's like it feels like the episode wants Joy to be sort of the like the Michael Gambon in Christmas Carol or the mom in Doctor the Witch in the Wardrobe of like our protagonist. But yeah, like it's ironically kind of the aspect of the episode I'm the most unclear on how I'm supposed to feel or what actually happened to this woman by the end.
Yeah, like you know, I'll rewatch this episode occasionally, like I do with all of the Christmas specials. But like the one, if I could just take out the middle section, the year in the hotel, I would rewatch that every year because it's just so cozy and nice, you know. But yeah, that Bethlehem ending is just a real what? You know, like of an ending. It's like the ending of the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, where you're like, what? The hell does that mean?
And I did have the thought though of like, oh well, you know, if you are an atheist, or if you're like, I don't like it when Doctor Who touches on religion. I kind of like that it doesn't do it a lot, or kind of like rejects it a lot often. It's like you could make the argument that, you know, this is Christmas goblins of like mythological creatures, you know.
Right. No,
this
totally.
That.
Yeah, which is why it doesn't bother me super much, because it's like, oh well, yeah, now, you know, if it wasn't before, God is real now. So, you know.
I think that like because Stephen Moffat like specifically likes to imagine like the future of the church, like with his like soldiers and stuff, like even prior to Boom, it doesn't really like bother me as much. It's more like head scratchy, like, okay,
right,
yeah.
It is mostly that for me. I mean, it's not like Mary was the companion in this,
right.
Yeah, like
Mary was Ruby's mom or something.
Yeah. Like, it turns out there was a time period where Rory was Joseph or something.
I was going to say Joseph is a total Rory.
Yeah, right.
God got me pregnant, and you have to go with it. Okay, all right.
Oh my God.
Can we consummate the marriage after? It varies depending on what book you're reading. Okay. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Okay. All right.
God.
I don't know what that has to do with reality, but okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Oh man. No, I agree with you, Cass. Like it was more, I think it's more sticking in my craw because I'm just like, what does that mean? Like,
yeah, because it's like the last thing.
Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, yeah, Christmas, you know. It's like, yeah, but
but what?
What?
We just cut to like the clips of like 10 saying what? Like,
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't she have not turn into a star? Couldn't she have just like learned to accept her rage and her joy and like keep being a person, keep being just a person with a life?
Nope, can't be a person with a life anymore.
Got to be the star of Bethlehem.
Got to be the star of Bethlehem. Hey, at least her name wasn't Beth or something.
Wow.
Or
Star. Joy Star.
Beth
or
Beth,
Astrid.
Beth Star.
Astrid. Yeah. And then we get the Anita tease at the end, which is fun. But do we want to get into the season 2 trailer if we're done talking about Joy to the Worlds?
Did you watch it, Cass?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool.
I watched it twice even.
Oh, wow.
I was like, it's so short.
To cut myself off, I had another thought going back to like, have we been here before and am I okay with it? If that is the case. Is, Joy / the star. There's a bit, the classic Doctor Who bit of like, you've been alone too long. You need a friend. You're better with a friend. Don't be alone. Go find friend. Go find new companion. Time to go find new companion. And I was like, God, if I had a nickel, for every time a one-off companion tells the Doctor, you've been alone too long. It's time for you to stop being alone. But again, like, am I okay with that? Do I actually care that we do repeat ourselves sometimes with this 60-year-old television show? How did you guys feel about that moment?
I didn't. It didn't feel like incorrect, like, because I think the whole middle part of the episode is proving that point. So it's just like, hey, I think it's more a reminder that like, oh yeah, we got a new companion in the pipeline.
Yeah,
Lord, she coming.
I guess my problem with that for me is just that like, well then you got one right there. What's wrong with her?
Yeah.
Like where you're just like, well, why are you leaving her behind then? Like, you're like, well, I have to say goodbye to you because I have to go in search of my new best friend. Oh, okay. Like it's just like,
yeah.
She has to be younger than you and more important. Sorry. But it was great. We had a great time together. But I got to go find somebody younger and more important. I don't know.
And we even get a glimpse of Ruby at the end, and I was like, why isn't she in the show anymore again? Like, what
She's
plot
hanging out with her
reason?
mom.
And who was her mom again?
Yes.
Just some lady.
It was just some lady. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was just some lady.
That was the gotcha note in the mystery box.
And she had that awesome life. We got to see like her life in Empire Dad, where she was just like a boozy UK 20-something.
Yeah, I think the scene where she answers the phone and like I was expecting it to be the Doctor and then it wasn't the Doctor, like kicked me harder than like, oh, you have to go find a friend,
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah. So anyway,
so series 2, we get a glimpse of the new companion. She wants to go back to Earth, but she can't, and that kind of seems like potentially the mystery box of series 2 is like maybe the Doctor can't go to Earth the whole series. Like that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. I definitely don't think that's the case because I've seen set photos of him.
Okay.
in front of like a movie theater and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, it was interesting. I'm wondering how like is the leaked date of March? Is it March 22nd? Was the leak date? I think, in some emails or something. March 30th. I'm wondering if March 30th ends up being the actual release date or not. That was the leak.
Just
Pretty
based
early.
on like, do you think it's going to be later than that or?
Yeah, well, I mean, the last season was later than that.
Oh.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, we get that cartoon guy crawling out of the movie screen. That looked kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
probably
did look
from the movie theater one that I was talking about. Cartoon guy coming out of a movie screen is a lot of fun. God of cartoons. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we're still kind of like on this like other forces, like other beings, like playing games with people, like mortals.
Yeah. No glimpse at the neighbor lady, right? The mysterious neighbor lady.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Flood.
Mrs. Flood. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Series 1 premiered / season 14 premiered May 11th.
Wow. Yeah, that was a lot later. Huh. Interesting.
And Verada Sethu will be playing.
Yeah.
I don't have her name in front of me, but
yeah, I don't remember if they said her name yet. Her companion name.
I don't know.
No.
Belinda Chandra.
Linda Sandra.
Belinda Chandra.
Belinda Sandra. Okay. Interesting.
And then boom,
That's a
she played,
mouthful.
of course, Mundy Flynn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sunday, Monday.
Oh man, I still can't get over Joy Almondo.
Yep. Yeah, when he was like, why do they call you Joy? They should call you Mounds.
Wrecked.
Right. You're right.
Oh.
They should call me Mounds.
Oh no, I'm too good at being mean. So do we have kind of like, let's do like I want to do like a wish list. Do either of you have any kind of like, because the next time we're going to do Long Way Round, but then presumably we'll be back in March or April having seen the premiere, whatever that is. So
yeah.
Do you just have like a rough wish list of like, this is kind of, I hope it's this vibe, or like it'd be cool to see this kind of episode or this thing happen again or for the first time?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be cool. Let's see. So I would like a little bit. Well, okay. So since there's not as many like scheduling conflicts this season, I want like a more traditional season of Doctor Who versus like the first series with 15, I think, where it was a little like we didn't really get to know him very well because of the scheduling conflicts with sex education and everything. So I want like a little bit more of a traditional season, I think. In terms of like the gods of it all, if we're doing a revisit, I would like to see what is the snake god? Mara? The Mara? That would be cool.
The Mara.
Yeah. Like a redo of the Mara would be neat. Can't think of any other gods that he's really dealt with other than that.
Well, we
go ahead.
in the last season of Long Way Round, we threw around the idea of like the Black Guardian coming back.
Yeah.
That would be cool too. Yeah. Be interesting. I also wonder, I don't know if have we talked about this before, but the idea that like the bi-regeneration was basically done so that because Russell plans on explaining away the Valyard.
Oh, maybe that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Because the Valyard would be a cool, like, that'd be a cool loop to come back to, I think.
I agree. I love the Valyard.
Yeah.
Like played by David Tennant or played by like another third actor?
I would say another third actor. That's what I would think. I would say another third actor and maybe like bi-regenerated off of like the 8th Doctor at some point, or
Oh.
or something like that. Like some like a while back, like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
off camera,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. Yeah, there's too many David Tennants floating around. We got the non-doctor, like the
Yeah.
the alternate universe one, and then we've got the 14th one, and yeah, and then there's the 10th. Still, he's still out there somewhere because time travel. But yeah, but it's true. As far as episodes, like, we got this Joy to the World, so I don't even necessarily need like another Moffat episode. We probably will get one, but I'm not like, oh, there better be a Moffat episode next season. Like, I don't care. I would like there to be a lot less Russell T. Davies episodes, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'd be cool if it was only like 3, like the premiere
Is it
and
still
then the finale.
Is it still 8 or 9 or however many it is?
So.
Or
Yeah,
okay.
It's still 8. Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, 8 in a Christmas special.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking to see. Yeah, there isn't. I don't think they've released like writing credits yet.
No,
the way they did last time, which is exciting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that'll usually like starts up like 2 months out or so is when they start releasing that.
Yeah,
details.
I liked what they did last year where they did those like title cards that like kind of like set the vibe. I hope they do that again because like that was really cool to like speculate on like, oh, what does this mean?
Right. Yeah, that was fun.
I would love to see another Kate Herron episode, or I would love to see Rogue again. I really want that to get picked back up again. But now that you've said it, Scott, I really would love for season 15 to just feel more cohesive, none of that like, well, this is actually chronologically the penultimate episode, but it's the second episode, like that you're watching.
Yeah.
It just kind of it didn't help with how distant emotionally some of it felt.
Right. Totally. Yeah, I agree with that. I'll be interested too if they're going to do weekly releases or like for the whole season, or if they're going to like dump the first 2 like they did last time.
Oh, for like a double feature thing.
Yeah. I kind of hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll people didn't really like Space Babies, so I think that's why they did that. But hopefully there's not an episode that is controversial in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited
Space
to
Babies
see
2.
Oh God, that would be so funny. I would space toddlers. I would cackle. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a huge laundry list. I'm more just like ready to just let it happen and see what goes on. It just sucks that we're gonna get like an extended hiatus after series 2, because they still haven't been renewed for series 3.
Didn't they start filming? No, he completed scripts on series 3 already, right?
Right, but they haven't started shooting because they can't until they get the green light, and they're not going to give the green light until the show airs, until series 2 airs.
Whoa, okay. That's
crazy. Why they made the spinoff, I think, is to fill the gap. Yeah, but we won't be covering that like we covered this, I don't think.
Yeah, when's
we'll
that
probably
coming
just
out?
do like a Patreon thing or something for that. So
yeah, the war between land and water
in the sea. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, nice.
You were there.
I was there.
Yeah. Any other closing thoughts on Joy of the World or thoughts on series 2?
I would like a longer trailer than the 30-second little thing we got. Hopefully,
I'm glad we got something though.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. No release date for War Between the Land and the Sea yet. Just 2025.
I don't even know if that's accurate. I'm guessing it'll be 2026 before we see it.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because, like, I don't know. I don't think they're going to feel like what's the rush? You know,
Mhm.
we don't have a series 3. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We will be back next month, probably like a month from now, like end of January, with the new season of Long Way Around, season 13. I think we ran through all the episodes in that season in our last episode of Long Way Around from a couple weeks ago, so check that out. And that is it. We'll talk to you next year. Bye, everybody.